All right, here he is, Shea Gilgeous Flopalopoulos, and I hate him. All he does is flip and flop around and foul bait. He goes to the free throw line like he's so proud of himself. As soon as he gets a shooting foul call, he just straight face walks over there and starts working on his form. And I hate him, and he sucks at scoring. He doesn't actually suck at scoring. He's the best scorer in the NBA. If you think Shea doesn't flop and foul bait, that's ignorant. If you think Shea isn't the best scorer in the NBA, that's ignorant as well. Both things are true, not what the video is about. The video is about if the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to be able to repeat as champions. And I think it's kind of tough. OKC brought back all of their major pieces. They didn't lose any major parts of their championship team. They still have Caruso and Case and Wallace and Chet Holmgren, J-Dub, SGA, of course. I already said Caruso. They have Nikola Topic, who's supposed to be really promising. They're going to try to get Nikola Topic some minutes and some playtime coming into this next season. So we'll see how Topic develops. There's a lot of Oklahoma City Thunder haters. There's a lot of SGA haters. And I'm probably one of the haters. But if you watch the finals last season, Indiana played a lot of physical defense. Indiana got away with a lot of hand checking and physical defense. Same thing for the Thunder. The Thunder got away with a lot of physical defense and hand checking. Things some people might call fouls, but that's just the finals basketball. It's going to be more physical. I watched all the finals games. I feel like OKC may have gotten favorable officiating, but it's by like that much. And I'm an OKC hater. It wasn't like some people might try to say, oh, the finals are rigged. I didn't hear the word rigged for these finals, but I have heard people saying, oh, the only reason OKC won was because the officiating, all the refereeing, this and that. And that's just not true. OKC won because they're the number one defensive team in the NBA last season and because they have one of the greatest scorers of all time in SGA. And I'm an SGA hater, but he is one of the greatest scorers of all time. He's averaged 30 plus 3 seasons in a row on 50% or better efficiency from the field. So if you can find me a guard that can give me even 25 points per game for 3 seasons straight on 50% shooting, that's just an elite guard. It's really hard to score that kind of points on that kind of efficiency as a big man, but especially as a guard player. So SGA is amazing. OKC brings back the whole squad. I think I mentioned they have Nikola Topic as well, who they're trying to develop and see what he turns into going into this next season. And a lot of people have OKC as their favorite going into next season for a good reason. They still have all these defenders on their team. SGA's not going to get worse. He's only 26 or 27 years old now, so he's just kind of entering his prime, and he's going to be a really special player and scorer for at least the next 5 years, if not longer. So they kind of check all the boxes. They have this amazing defense. They have the superstar player. But I kind of look at it, the past 7 years, nobody's repeated. I would probably say Boston was our favorite out of the past 7 teams. The Boston team that won in 2024 because they were similar to OKC, just a really versatile team, a bunch of defenders that can just switch everything. They had their superstar in Jason Tatum. SGA is, of course, better than Jason Tatum. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say at this point in their careers. But, of course, Jason Tatum gets his torn Achilles, and then things kind of get backed up, and now the Celtics aren't our favorites anymore. But even if OKC stays completely healthy, I'm not sure. I don't think I would have them as my favorite for the championship next year. They went 7 games with the Denver Nuggets, and Michael Porter Jr. only had one arm, his shoulder. I think it was his rotator cuff or something like that. But if you watch the Nuggets series, he just had like a limp arm the whole time. He was not doing really anything with his left arm. I think it was his left arm. He would go up and grab rebounds, and he's grabbing rebounds with one hand because he doesn't want to bring up that other shoulder and hurt it. When he would shoot his jumpers, he has a beautiful shot. Porter Jr. is a great shooter, but you could tell it was really affecting his jump shot. He wasn't nearly as effective as he usually is on defense, shooting, rebounding, just everything was really affected by his shoulder. And then Aaron Gordon it was his hamstring. He pulls his hamstring in game 7. He can barely move around out there. They're playing just a banged up Nuggets team, and they still needed 7 games to beat that Nuggets team. And now Nuggets switch out Michael Porter Jr. for Cam Johnson. I think Cam Johnson is going to be amazing for Denver and just fit right into what they were doing. If you had switched out Cam Johnson with Porter Jr., in the series that the Thunder played against the Nuggets in this playoffs, I'm not going to say they would have won. It's easy to look back in hindsight and say if this player was switched with this player, this would happen. I wouldn't say all that, but I think they'll definitely have a better chance, switching out um, Michael Porter Jr. for Cam Johnson. I think that'll give them a much better chance against the Thunder if they match up against them again. And then just the gauntlet of the Western Conference. You have to go through Houston, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Grizzlies maybe in the playoff battle. I think the Spurs are definitely going to make the playoffs this season. Who else did I forget? I don't know if I mentioned Denver, but you're going to have to go through a bunch of really good teams just to make the finals in the West. And, the West has always been the better of the two conferences, and that still hasn't changed. Nikola Jokic, he was the best player in the NBA last season, in my opinion. He's still the best player in the NBA going into this season. SJ won the MVP. SJ was the best scorer in the NBA. His team had the best season, so I don't know what the criteria is for MVP. I'm not really mad that SGA won. I think he deserved it, I guess, but Jokic was still the best player in the NBA. Kind of like when Derrick Rose won the MVP, but LeBron was obviously the clear-cut MVP. It wasn't that egregious. It was a really close battle, but Jokic was like 29 points, 10 assists, and 12 rebounds last season, or something stupid. So it was just a voter fatigue thing why Jokic didn't win the MVP again. But again, not to take away from SGA, I think he had an incredible season, and he's an incredible player. But I feel like the Nuggets, with that switch from Porter Jr. to Cam Johnson, they're going to have a much better chance to beat the Nuggets in this playoffs if they match up. And again, they took them to 7 games with the beat-up Nuggets team. It took them 7 games to beat the Pacers. And again, I won't be this hindsight guy that says, oh, if Tyrese Halliburton didn't get hurt and the Pacers are going to win the championship. He hit 4 threes before he got hurt. But again, I'm not going to be the hindsight guy that says, oh, Tyrese made 4 threes in the first quarter. He was about to make 16 threes and score 65 points and carry the Pacers to the championship. I wouldn't say all that, but if Tyrese didn't get hurt, I think that the Pacers, obviously, they have a really good chance to win the game. They still had somewhat of a chance after he got hurt, but the Thunder kind of just stretched out the lead, and they just put the Pacers away. But if Tyrese is there, the Pacers have a much better chance to win the championship, needless to say. And, Tyrese is going to miss this entire next season, so hopefully he gets well soon. But I feel like the West is just too much of a gauntlet to go through. Another thing I'm going to mention, once we get to the trade deadline next season, I don't think teams are going to look exactly the same as they're looking right now. I think there's probably like a 60% chance that Giannis is not on the Bucks anymore by the time the trade deadline hits. I really think Giannis is going to get traded. I'm a Spurs fan. Hopefully the Spurs trade for Giannis, but another one of the teams that could possibly get Giannis is the OKC Thunder. I don't know if they would be interested in trading for him if they get to the trade deadline and they're number 1 in the West and they're just smoking everybody like they were last season. I don't see any reason why they would make the trade for Giannis. You'd have to look into OKC's front office and see what they think about that decision, because they have the assets to trade for him. They have all these first-round draft picks, and they have the players they would need to trade for Giannis, but I don't think there's any way that OKC gets Giannis without trading J-Dub or Chet Holmgren. They'll be able to keep one of those guys, but they'd have to trade a handful of first-round draft picks. They don't give a shit. Y'all can have those first-round draft picks. We're already set for the next 5 years at least. But if I was an OKC Thunder fan, that would be really tough for me, honestly. I love J-Dub. I love Chet Holmgren, but Giannis is 30 years old. You'd be trading like a 21-year-old Chet Holmgren, so you'd be kind of mortgaging. Is that the word I'm looking for? Mortgaging your future. But I don't know. I don't think Chet Holmgren is ever going to be as good as Giannis at any point in his career. That's not to bash on Chet Holmgren or hate on him in any way, just to big up Giannis and say how great Giannis is. But I don't know, if I was an OKC fan, I'm a Spurs fan, but if I was an OKC fan, I think I would do the trade. I'd trade Chet Holmgren and some first-round draft picks, whatever else they need to trade to pick up Giannis. And if you add Giannis with SGA, J-Dub, all you got rid of was Chet Holmgren and some first-round draft picks. They may have to throw in like Cason Wallace or Isaiah Joe or somebody else. I'm not sure exactly how the package would look, but it would have to include J-Dub or Chet. So I'd rather trade Chet, and then, if you add um, Giannis Antetokounmpo into the mix, and you still have the number one defense in all of basketball, I don't think that they'd be sacrificing any rim protection by adding Giannis for Chet. Chet probably is a better rim protector and a better interior defender. I take back what I said. They might lose like this much interior defense and rim protecting, but Giannis is a more versatile defender, better scorer, better rebounder. I don't think he's as good at shot blocking as SGA as Chet is rather. So maybe Chet gives you better rim deterrence and better rim protection. But again, like I was saying, I think Giannis is going to get traded before the trade deadline. If he goes to San Antonio, I think the Spurs immediately become maybe not the favorite, but at least 1 and 2. They become a favorite right with Oklahoma City if the Spurs trade for Giannis. And then I don't really see a world where OKC trades for Giannis, but they have the assets to do it. If they did trade Chet Holmgren, it'd probably be like Chet Holmgren. I think that Milwaukee would probably ask for Alex Caruso, but I don't think OKC would want to do that. If they could do something like Chet Holmgren, Cason Wallace, Isaiah Joe, and I don't know, 5 first-round draft picks, whatever they have to trade to get Giannis Antetokounmpo, then the Thunder would immediately be my favorites to win again. But with how they are right now, I would have Denver as my favorite to win the title next year, just with picking up Cam Johnson, still having the best player in the world. Jokic is going to be turning 31 next season, so his style is not based on athleticism at all. Jokic is going to be still playing pretty much the same level for at least the next 2 or 3 years, I would say, maybe even longer. But I still think Jokic is the best player in the NBA. I think Denver's team isn't better than the Thunder. I think the Thunder are better as a team, but Jokic is just such an insanely great offensive engine. I think he could definitely put the Nuggets over the top of OKC. He almost did it in this year's playoffs. But again, his team just all beat up. Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon with the hamstring. He's basically playing like 3-on-5 with his injured players out there. So not to hate on SGA or the Thunder, I just don't have them as my favorite to repeat. Over the past 7 teams that have won championships, it's been different teams every year for the past 7 years. Like I was saying earlier, OKC's my favorite out of those 7 teams to repeat. I think they're in the best position to do it. But we said the same thing about the Celtics just last year. They had a really similar team to OKC where it's just versatile defenders, a really high-level defense. But the Celtics were just a really heavy three-point shooting team where OKC's style is totally different in that sense. OKC doesn't shoot a lot of threes. It's more just defense, get out and run on the fast break and score on the fast break, and then just get SGA the ball in the half court. But I would have the Nuggets as my favorite to win the championship. Just how things look right now, I think Jokic is a better player than SGA. When the Nuggets won the championship in 2023, they were 26th in offense and like 16th in defensive rating. So Jokic is just so great that it doesn't matter if your team is top 10 in defense or offensive rating or anything. It just get that man into the playoffs and you're going to have a chance to win the championship, almost like back when Cleveland had a prime LeBron James, Miami had a prime LeBron James. You're going to have a chance to win every year just based on that great all-time great player you have. So I would take the Nuggets as my favorite right now. It's hard to make predictions. It's just so early right now, but if I got to make a pick and pick a side, I would pick Denver as my favorite to win the championship right now, just based on them taking OKC to 7 games last season and adding Cam Johnson and taking away Michael Porter Jr. I would think Aaron Gordon's going to be healthier than he was for this last playoffs. Again, we can't project injuries. We don't know who's going to be healthy when the playoffs get started. We don't know where Giannis is going to be when the playoffs get started. There's other players that may be traded to make things look totally different. But right now, I'd pick Denver over OKC just because they have the best player in the world, and they were able to take OKC 7 games with a beat-up Nuggets team just last season. But please comment below. Let me know what you think about who's going to finish number 1, if the Thunder are going to repeat. And please like and subscribe as well. I'm trying to get to 60 subscribers. Right now, I'm going to pick the Nuggets as my favorite. OKC will be my number 2 favorite team. But again, Just have to see what happens at the trade deadline, see which teams are healthy going into the playoffs. But let me know what you think. We'll see y'all next time.